Hey, everybody, and welcome to another Tribal Council in Survivor Hamilton, Old Meets New. We are here with the Ulloo tribe for their second formal Tribal Council, most recently from Shareed, that was voted out 3 whole weeks ago. This is the first real vote since then. So you guys had a good run, I would say, of success. So Sasha, why don't you just talk to the group about what happened at the immunity challenge? Did it seem like it was both kind of exciting for the folks that were really, really fast, and then a bit of a disappointment there?
It was really exciting for me. As I was mentioning to you, it's the first time that I was the very first answer in ever in this whole game, and that like I'm still really excited about that because it might not ever happen again. And yeah, it just felt like, I mean, I was so impressed that Brian was able to figure out that answer while like he was putting his daughter to bed. Like I worked at it for so long, and he was like, "Sorry, I wasn't able to check. Like, was that right?" Like it was right. It was so fast. It was so like I'm just the way his brain works. It's crazy. And you know we started trying to wake up Dave like immediately because he had told us that he went to bed a little bit before. And like I was like texting him like crazy. I called him, and then like you know he checked in, and then when we saw the results, like if it was kind of close, like there was a couple of us that you know were in after the buzzer, so to speak, I wouldn't have been so mad about it. And if it wasn't the same person who tanked it both times that we as a team have ever been here, I wouldn't have been so mad, but it's just like, come on, buddy.
Right. Okay, so Dave, you picked a good time to join the call, unfortunately.
Oh, by the way.
So you obviously, so Sasha was mentioning, Dave, that you kind of let the group know that it was, you know, bedtime for you, and then the challenge probably came a little while after that. Could you have stayed up a little bit longer, or was it? How do you kind of judge when you want to go to sleep versus when you want to kind of try to stay up and see if you could wait out the challenge?
Well, I can't remember exactly. Hi, everyone, by the way. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I think I went to bed at about, I don't know, 12:15 or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And then the challenge I think was a little like, was it 1:30 in the morning for me?
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I was people kept messaging in some of the chats, which because I was waiting for the challenge, I left my phone on, you know, the sound. So I kept hearing pings. So even though I was trying to sleep from about 12-ish until about 1:30-ish, I kept getting woken up. So I wasn't really like asleep, but I also wasn't totally fully awake. So I can't remember the exact time when the challenge got released or whatever, but eventually Sasha pinged me a few times and some of the other guys pinged me a few times, which I did eventually get up for. But it was just sort of, you know, I think it was about 1:30 or so, or 1:15 in the morning. I mean, that is, I'm sorry, guys. You know, I know it was a couple of minutes late, but that's late.
I mean, you're going to play this game.
I think really Mike is to blame. There's no reason to be putting a challenge out.
Mike is always to blame, always in every situation, but in this case, it's on you.
Agreed.
You know, I did some looking through the numbers, and Dave, you're right. Like this was super late, and there's not really, you know, there's no reason to be keeping somebody up well past midnight over and over and over again. But I am also trying to have this whole window, trying to use variety, trying to kind of go all over the place.
I get it. And like to be totally honest with you, I know when you look at the numbers, I was obviously the last one, but the whole challenge was over in like what, 4 minutes? So I mean the fact that yes, I was the last one, which I was the last one, which sucks, but at the same time, considering it was 1:15, 1:30 over here, that's actually a really short amount of time, you know, that it took to get the ping, to wake up and send the message. So I mean, yeah, it sucks that we lost, and it sucks that I was the last one. But I mean, given the circumstances and given the short time frame, yeah, there's not much really else I can say about it.
I can understand where you're coming from. Does anybody else have anything they want to add just about the challenge and about next week?
I definitely disagree with David. The reason that he signed up for this game is because last year or whenever he played last, he felt that the time zone was an issue for all the other players. And if he was going to try to show that the time zone thing wasn't going to be an issue this year, he should have, stuck by that. Like we all
in your bio.
Yeah.
Should have stayed up past 1:32 o'clock with a 1-year-old kid. Yeah, no, I understand that. I appreciate that.
That's what the game is about, right?
Yeah.
And
or is the game about playing to other strengths and things like that as well. I mean,
well, I'm not really convinced that you took the challenge seriously, because you knew that if we went to tribal council, you knew that it was going to be between Sasha and I. And I totally get that, because that's what happened on Navala when it was just Hamilton after Hamilton that was going to be eliminated. But I suspected it for the previous challenge, and I asked Mike what would happen if you guys did that, and that's what they do in the real game of Survivor. So it was fine, but I'm not convinced that it wasn't purposeful.
Oh, okay.
So Ruth, you're saying it was intentional, or you believe it was intentional?
I'm saying I'm not convinced that he put all the care into playing the game.
Okay. So to ask Brian. So thanks Ruth and Dave and Sasha. We'll come back. Sasha, you mentioned that that the reason why the first 4 of you got your answers in so quick was because Brian solved it so quick, which means, Brian, you were probably the first person in the game to solve that question. How did you go about answering it? Yeah,
I couldn't believe how fast Brian solved that. That was ridiculous. When I looked at the timestamp, that was unreal.
I mean, I agree. When I thinking about it, just being in the moment, he's like, "Oh, I can't really check my phone or piece of paper, but I think it's 8." And it's like, I've been working this out this whole time, and I continue to. I still don't know how you got it, to be honest.
I thought it was 5 at first because I didn't even read the question.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was valses, so I said there's 5 valses.
Yeah.
Then,
right.
Said,
no,
it's flowers. So then I was like, oh, then it's 8. It works out.
But I must say that Ruth and Paul also figured it out pretty quickly and were able to confirm right away. I was useless.
Right. So Brian, what's that moment like then? Then once you answer the question and you solve it, you get your first 4 answers in, and then there's 2 or 3 minutes that go by, and you're not sure if you have the 5th answer. And how does that feel during that moment? And what are you trying to do to turn it around?
I was busy, so I didn't even know what happened. I shut my phone, put my phone down. Like Sasha said, I didn't even know if 8 was the right answer. I figured I said 8, and someone said yeah, and then so I just sent it in. But then, because at that point, once we've all sent it in, if someone sends something wrong, it doesn't matter anyway, so might as well just all pile on that. So at that point, after I sent it in, I was sort of checked out for a little bit.
That's interesting. And I think it's actually something that we've been seeing through the course of the game, where players who have kids, because of the time of the challenges and tribal council, to be honest, happening between 5 and 9, that's typically a family time. And so a lot of people doing the challenges are kind of getting their answer in and then getting back to what they were doing. Whereas a lot of people without kids are kind of staying focused on the challenge and wanting to kind of unpack what happened and figure out, what are you going to do from here? Is that something, Sasha, that you're finding, that there might be a bit of a difference in the terms of how some people are playing the game and how other people are?
I mean, I don't have kids, and it's very easy to take care of a cat. So I don't know exactly, I'm trying to imagine if my sister and brother-in-law or my brother and sister-in-law were at all interested in playing this game and trying to justify, this amount of time. I can't really imagine, especially if people who have kids and full-time jobs and are playing this game. Like, I don't understand how you can do it in the first place. But like, yeah, I mean, of course, we're going to be like invested on Edge still. Like, we have nothing else to do. I mean, like, for some of us, like, because, the times we were in, there's not much to do. We can't really go visit people. Like, it's just, if you don't have kids or you live by yourself, what, like, you can't go out.
This is what you have to look forward to.
Yeah, this is my whole life, is what I'm trying to say.
I agree with Sasha. I don't have kids either, so obviously I can dedicate my time to just standing by waiting for Mike to post a question. However, like when Andre was still in the game, when Ian was still in the game, like they both had little ones, and they were like, I think the difference is the toll that it actually takes on their personal sort of situation, not necessarily how dedicated they are to standing by and waiting for an answer. Because I think they did that too, but it's just whatever toll it had on their personal and family life is different than what toll it had on me.
And do you feel that when people are maybe in a more secure place in the game from an alliance and from a David's point, from the social aspect of the game, that maybe they feel like they can be a little bit more loosey-goosey on the challenge part of the game?
Absolutely. Dave went to bed.
I would just like to say that I'm not last in terms of the position, in terms of getting my answers in. I'm on the wrong side, but I'm not last in our tribe. So
but that's because it was old versus new, and Navala was fucked from the start. Like, I mean, anyone who wasn't on the original Navala, it is way above everybody else because we were just like babies figuring it out,
That's fine. I'm just saying that if
baby too, he only played 2 weeks of Survivor before.
That's true. Yeah, it's not like
he went through 2 challenges.
Yeah, I was the second person out, so it's not like I'm massively experienced here.
With every single possible experience that was on going into this game, whereas like we're like, oh, maybe this is how this works. Oh, what, we're supposed to be fast?
Yeah, I appreciate there's a learning curve, but like Brian said, I'm learning this just as well because it's all new to me. But I'm just saying, you guys said that I haven't put in the effort, because whatever. But if you look at the stats, I'm not doing that badly, really. I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. So
you're not the worst on the old tribe too, out of everyone that was on.
No, exactly. Yeah. I took a look at kind of the performances today, and regarding David's kind of season so far, he's had a few times where he's been basically last, a bunch of times where he's been actually really fast or gotten the point in the head-to-heads, and then he sat out the most also of people. So it's like he's kind of got a wide variety of things, but when he answers in a timely fashion, it's typically fast. It's either really fast or slow, at least at this point in the game, which I think you'd probably have recognized that as well, Dave.
Yeah.
It's very binary.
The stats are also an unfair way to, like, they're not a full picture. I get that they are helpful, but if you look at the stats, like April's almost always last, and that doesn't show the contributions that she's been making throughout this whole game. Like, she's always solving, she's always like, like contributing.
I'm not saying contributions. I can't remember if it was somebody mentioned my dedication, which is what I was arguing against.
Yeah, sounds
my commitment to the game.
Challenges are only like, I don't know. I don't watch Survivor, but based on this, I'd surmise maybe 20% of the overall, especially as we get closer to merge and after merge, challenges matter less and less because only one person wins a challenge. There's only one immunity after that. It's not a tribe versus tribe.
So April, what's your take on this whole idea that the game is both the social aspect and the challenge aspect, and you can kind of decide how you want to, where you really want to put your effort?
Sorry, what was the question?
It's okay. You're on vacation. You're on vacation. I'm sorry. Do you feel like that that the social aspect or the challenge aspect, one of them is more important than the other?
I think it depends on where you're at in the game. I think early on, the challenge aspect is probably more important. And what really went wrong with Navala is they were too hyper-focused on the social aspect of the game and the alliances, and continued to knock out our best players in the challenges, and that's what screwed us over in the end. So I think it really depends where you're at. This far along, I think maybe the social is a little bit more important.
Right. Thanks, April. It's like I mentioned before that it's been 3 weeks since Sharid was voted out, and that was the first vote. That was the first vote after the tribe swap. So, Ruth, what's been going on since then? Has there been lots of changes? Has everything really remained the same? What's it been like on Ulloo?
That was a really silly thing. Like, I didn't watch his exit interview until the day that John House was also eliminated. I watched 2 videos in one, so I kind of just was like took it for granted that Sharid crossed lines, but he blamed it on not communicating with him. But we were in the group chat with him, and he just didn't scroll up. Like, so that was just so bizarre. So like that, the fact that, yeah, like I think at that point, like the paranoia of the game and the fact that other people got to him, like just sort of overtook the situation, because the conversation that Sasha and I had was in a group chat with Sharid, and like he just had to read it.
And since then, have you put in a lot of work to try and convince the ex-Kobara guys and April that there's a different move than you and Ruth? Are you sorry, you and Sasha?
Sort of, but it quickly became futile when you realize the like social dynamic of it. Like if this was real Survivor, then like outside forces wouldn't influence the game. Like Brian was very clear that he made a promise to Graham that he would protect April, and so there was he just said he would never cross that. So I don't know if that's a tip for people on the other teams. And he also mentioned that David was someone who was invited to his wedding, so there's a strong personal connection there that I wasn't going to be able to break. And the last option was Paul, and Paul doesn't really know anyone else and is afraid to cross anyone from Kobara. So he's going to stick with the like former Kobara people. And like after then, it just became a matter of winning challenges and hopefully like just continuing to win. But obviously that wasn't the case.
Mm. And given all that, I think it's more understandable how focused you were on the immunity challenges and on continually improving your performances, which you guys absolutely have been. And that's probably why you got so frustrated about the loss this week.
Absolutely. I mean, it was the second time too. It's not like it was the first time.
So another thing that happened right before the Sharid vote was a challenge for an immunity idol. Brian, how much has that, even though that was 3 weeks ago, how much has that continued to play a factor in the discussions around Ulloo?
I think you can tell by our last 2, I guess, the Sharid vote and then the vote with Sasha and the tribe swap, that whole ordeal where we're splitting the votes. So clearly we're aware there's an idol, and fairly certain one of 2 people has it, and that's why. Like, I mean, it's clear. Like, we're splitting our votes just to make sure, and it's our only really option, like just to cover ourselves. And obviously the idol hasn't been played yet, so we're assuming it's still out there.
Have you started to think about what happens after Ruth and Sasha, in terms of if you guys still need to vote, if you keep going to tribal council, or just one vote at a time?
I think we've brought it up, just like that we'll figure something out, but we haven't like said anything yet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think it was good time to get to the vote. Does anybody have anything else they want to add to the tribe before we do that?
I hope I'm voted off. I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, Fair enough. I guess that's maybe your wish will be granted. We will find out. Okay.
Candle.
Yeah. See, Sasha's got her candle. We're gonna get right to this. So we'll get to the votes. Paul's not here, so if it's him, he can suck it. All right. First vote. Dave. That's one vote for Dave.
Is there only one Dave left in the game right now?
Yeah, I just reused that from
so he doesn't
the
have
weekend.
to UK Dave anymore.
Yeah. Trying to save paper.
That's very eco-friendly of you. I appreciate that. Well done.
Thanks. Most of these are double-sided. Second vote, Paul. One vote for Dave, one vote for Paul. Third vote, Ruth. One Dave, one Paul, one Ruth. Fourth vote, Sasha. One Dave, one Paul, one Ruth, one Sasha. It's like one of those memory games. Fifth vote, Ruth. That's 2 votes for Ruth, 1 for each of the other ones. Sixth vote, Sasha. So we're tied with the most votes, 2 each, Ruth and Sasha. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to a revote, as we do. You can only vote for Ruth or Sasha. Sasha and Ruth, you will not vote. So we're going to be needing a vote from April, Brian, and Dave. Brian, if you could please just text Paul. I let him know that he's expected, and I'll double check my phone. I'll message him as well, but let's just both do it.
Yeah.
So the rest of you can message me your vote right now for either Ruth or Sasha. Whoever has the most votes will go home. If it's still tied, things get even more interesting.
If it's still tied, I go home, right? That's how it works.
Well, yeah, probably. Brian knows all about what happens when it's still tied.
Historically, yes, that's correct.
Oh, do we just vote now? Well,
Yes.
during the chat? Sorry, Mike. All right, hang on. Gotta get to my WhatsApp.
Or do you want to wait 4 minutes, David?
Just trying to find Mike in my WhatsApp chat.
Nick Barron.
Okay. So I can get to the revote. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll read the votes. The person with the most votes between Ruth and Sasha, after this vote, will be eliminated and become, I don't know how many people have been voted out of the game by now, but you'll be 17th place. Okay. First vote, Sasha.
How did you
Second
write that
vote.
quickly?
Sasha. Third vote. The next person voted out of the game is Sasha. Oh, and she did it. Good vote, everybody. Ruth, not the way you wanted it to go.
Or is it?
All right. Well, thanks everybody for a very honest and open tribal council. This was a good one, I think. People are going to like it. And Sasha, stick around. Ruth, enjoy the rest of your evening. The rest of you, April, enjoy your vacation. Brian, get to your family. Dave, get to bed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.